currently out on loan at other clubs. I'll tell you what, if you kept that as a squad of players, they would do pretty well in any league, right?
Yeah, would you?
Now, here's a little quiz question for you, Benty and Jack, right? There are 3 players currently playing for 3 different teams in the Premier League who are top scorers at that club. All playing for Chelsea, all belong to Chelsea.
I can name 2.
Go for it.
Gallagher and Brozier.
Yep. And then Mason Mount, obviously, at
Mason
Chelsea
Mount.
as well. Yeah, excellent stuff, Jack. Class. But here's the situation, right? That is a mad number, isn't it, Jack? We were talking about this, right? 21 players out there. I think Claude Makelele's job is to keep an eye on those players that are out on loan at the moment. I think there's somebody who does something similar for Arsenal, right? But what I'm asking you, Jack, is do you think it is fair that Chelsea can have that number of players that they still hold on to, they still own, that are out playing elsewhere?
Is it fair? It's fair because they're a rich club and they can get young players in, top young players, probably players who are not ever going to play for the first team, but they're going to develop them. They're going to send them out on loan, get their value up, and then they're going to make some money on them.
Yeah.
But saying that, when we had this conversation earlier, I thought that the rules have changed now regarding young players coming over because of Brexit, and I checked it out and it actually has. So they can't do that anymore. You have to wait until the player's 18, and then there's a certain procedure you have to go through, and you're only allowed a number of players. So it will change.
How important was it for you, Jack, when you went? I think it was Bolton, wasn't it? You went off to, gave you a really good bit of experience there. So, from the player's point of view, it's a good thing, isn't it, to go off and get that experience elsewhere?
It's definitely it's massive for the players, and I've been working with the academy now at Arsenal with the under 23s, and there's players there that you look at and you think you need to go out on loan. You've definitely got a chance at Arsenal and playing for this club, but you need to go out, you need to get some experience and see what it's like playing men's football, and it's massive for players at that age.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as a fan, Benty, of a club like Hibs, right, in Scotland, I love it when we see a player from Arsenal, for instance. We've got Harry Clark, a right back, who's just signed for us on a year's loan.
Who's the striker you looked at as well? He's from Arsenal. He scored a lot of goals. Stokes?
Oh, Anthony Stokes, he was Arsenal back in the day. And it's great for clubs like this when we get a player from him. I'm hoping to get some Man City players through Gary Caldwell, who was working for Pep, and it's something that gives a lift to clubs, I think, maybe further down the league or elsewhere in the country. But Benty, for you, does it feel like there's an unfair advantage to a club like Chelsea being able to do that and not have any more restrictions stopping them sending all these great players out on loan for a while?
I wouldn't say it's unfair, because as Jack said, they're a wealthy football club. It's a little bit scattergun, isn't it, in terms of they try and get the players in, put them on long-term contracts, because as we all know, players develop at different stages. So you might have one that maybe at the start you look at and go, it'll make a career in the game, but maybe not top level. Next thing you know, the penny drops. Year upon year, they get better and better. Next thing you know, you've got a superstar on your hands, as you've seen. You look at like Jack, when he came through Arsenal, he was a young kid, got in the team relatively early. So these things can happen. But that's why I was never big. And when I was certainly coming through, it wasn't under 23s football, because I don't really like under 23s football. It's all possession based. It's not really men's football. But when I was coming through, it was the reserves, and that kind of helped you develop, because not only were you playing against other men from other teams, you've got, I don't know, it might be some players, first team players coming back from injury. Because I remember playing Arsenal reserves, when would it have been, like early 2000s, and they had the likes of Edu playing, that key players in the first team that needed a game. So I think for a development stage, it was better, because you were playing every single week. You didn't know who's coming up against. You play Leicester, you maybe be playing against Leicester players from the first team that weren't maybe getting as many minutes as they should. So I think from a educational standpoint and a development standpoint, you couldn't beat the reserve league.
Do you think it can set players back as well, Jack? Is there a negative argument to this? Because, if you look at Billy Gilmore at Norwich, for instance, I don't think anybody could argue that that's been good for Billy or good for Chelsea, surely. So, is there a danger that some of these loans can go wrong for a player and maybe stint their development?
Short term, maybe, but I think in the long term, Billy will definitely benefit from that. He'll learn a lot from that, and it will help him become a better player, but definitely a better person. So it's important. You have to pick the right club to go to, and now that there's these loan managers, people in charge of loans, that definitely helps.
But when you look at some of the loan players that they've got, though, you look at the likes of like Armando Brozier at Southampton. clearly worked for him because he has been on fire for them. Conor Gallagher's the standout, isn't he? His performances at Crystal Palace has seen him get an England call up.
What a player!
What a player! So it's really worked for him. Billy Gilmore, maybe not so much, but he's still a top player. We've seen that he's got all the attributes. But it's people like Batshuayi. Like, for me, his time at Chelsea's over. So, but that's not the club. That's him obviously activating his last year and saying, and I understand it. He's probably
taking a contract.
Exactly. He's clearly not going to get the same money anywhere else that he's on at Chelsea. So he's going to want to stay on to that contract for as long as possible. Danny Drinkwater at Reading, he's another one who's probably on a fortune. Reading probably can't afford to be able to give him the exact same, or elsewhere. He's never going to get the same money that he's getting at Chelsea anywhere else. So he's hanging on to it for dear life. So for them guys, their incentives are different. But for some of the younger ones, I get it. There is that security if you go and sign a 5-year contract at Chelsea. I do get that.
It's mad looking at the list of players here as well, Jack. Just going through it. 3 keepers out on loan at the moment. Nathan Baxley, he's Hull City, isn't he? Jamie Cumming, MK Dons, and there's Carlos Eiger. I think he's playing at Rudar Valente. Here's the question for you. Do you know where that is?
Where is it?
Slovenia, isn't it?
I know, I knew it's Slovenia, but I thought you were going to ask me.
Oh, yeah, you knew it was Slovenia.
No, I was about to answer that.
You know, it's amazing having 3 keepers, right, that you can send out on loan. I mean, you know, they're pretty solid in the current squad. When, you know, looking at that starting lineup with Mendy's injured at the moment, isn't he? But, you know, most clubs would give anything to have 5 keepers of that quality on the books. That's a mad number, isn't it? Yeah, it 5 goalkeepers. It
is a crazy number, and it's, to be fair to Chelsea and a lot of these top clubs, Arsenal as well. In terms of a footballing education, they're going to get the best of the best, obviously a treatment, the best facilities. So their education in terms of becoming a player is going to be top. But you need a little bit more than that. You need to go out, you need to go and play proper football. You need to get that experience. And then there is the flip side where someone will turn around and go, well, look at Phil Foden. Yeah. He didn't have to go on loan. Well, that's an anomaly. That doesn't usually happen. Yeah.
Last question for both of you on this. Of all those players, the 21 players out on loan at the moment, who are the most realistic for getting into that Chelsea team next season? And I'm thinking Conor Gallagher, obviously, and Billy Gilmore. I personally would love to see him playing at the top.
I bet you would.
I talk about him every time I come in here. But, you know, there's Ethan Ampadu as well, you know, and God, there's so many players looking at this list.
Even Bakayoko, I forgot. Yeah. I thought he'd gone.
Yeah.
Like he said, he had that bigger reputation. I think he came from Monaco, and everyone was raving about him. And all of a sudden, he came to Chelsea, and it was nothing.
No, didn't happen, did it? But yeah, Jack, I'm sticking with that Billy Gilmore. Do you think after the Norwich experience, he can get himself back in that team?
Yeah, he's definitely got the ability. Probably needs one more loan. Would you agree?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
One more loan, and then he's got a chance. But the one that stands out is obviously Gallagher. He's been tremendous. He's playing in the Premier League week in, week out. He's scoring goals. He seems like a player that Tuchel would like. He's got a lot of energy. He can get around the pitch. And
he's not settling either, is he? He's gone on loan. He's not settling for, I'm gone out on loan. He's not doing that. He obviously clearly believes that he can go back to Chelsea and get in that team.
Tell you what, he's a player I'd pay to watch every week. Class act. Right, 03717 223344. Please give us a call. How do you feel about clubs like Chelsea stockpiling players? They currently have 21 out on loan. That's 03717 223344. This is Drive and talkSPORT.